I know you've been patient, I've done the dives, I've done the testing. Here is my review of the Garmin Descent Mk3i dive computer. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Divers Ready. My name's James. As always, so great to see all of your smiling faces. Now, let's dive straight into it, shall we? Wow. Just wow. First off, this is not a sponsored review. We don't do those here on Divers Ready. Yes, Garmin sent me 2 of these amazing computers and 2 new model transmitters for testing. I can't review something if I don't have it, but no money changed hands. Second, I can't comment on the in-water messaging over the Subwave Sonar T2 transmitter because, as of time of recording, that isn't out yet as a functionality. So I will have to make a separate video on that functionality later this year. I will say I am both excited and hesitant to try it. Garmin have done a remarkable job with the Descent Mk3i. It has 100% of the functionality of the Mk2i, and as if this could even be imagined, have added yet more functions. So if you haven't done so already, go back and watch our Mk2i review, which I will link up above there, and then add everything I'm about to say to that video, if that makes sense. Let's start with the flashlights, shall we? I believe this is the first dive computer in the world with an integrated flashlight. Now, the light is definitely not going to replace anybody's primary dive light or secondary dive light, but there's a freaking flashlight on my dive computer. What next? A laser? This is the James Bond world I have been waiting for. It even has a variable power setting and a red light. So I tend to use it when I get out of bed in the morning and Karina's still asleep and it's early and I'm stumbling around in the dark to leave to go diving. I use it then, just to get through the house so I don't crash into the sofa. What a brilliant little thing. We know that intense exercise before a dive can lead to an increased risk of DCS, but now we have a tool that can track our body's metrics out of the water and keep us that little bit safer in the water. The morning report has become part of my daily routine. I now wake up, brush my teeth, and then check my morning report. How was my quality of sleep? How was my heart rate variability during the night? What is my dive readiness rating? The dive readiness report is going to prevent a lot of DCS when people learn how to understand it. When I'm at the gym, I like to glance at my dive readiness status almost like a pre-flight time that we've had on computers for a while now. So when will the stress I'm putting on my body have subsided enough to make my next dive's level of risk acceptable? I can plan my dives around my workouts and my workouts around my dive schedule. We have never had a tool like this before. Of course, the tool is only as good as the human attached to it, so we need to always consider the human factors of using such guidance. But hey, if my dive readiness says I didn't sleep well and my body battery is drained, maybe I want to at least consider making my dive plan more conservative. Now we're seeing not only is Garmin able to read our physiology and provide the data, it's now interpreting that data and making suggestions to keep divers safer. That is an important leap. I'm all about that, and I hope that you guys are too. My main complaint about the Mk3i was the screen brightness. Against the Shearwater Teric, the Mk3i was basically unreadable even on the highest brightness setting. But I did clarify that comment by saying the trade-off is Garmin's incredible battery life. I have a good buddy of mine who is much older, like a lot older than I am, and he said he couldn't read the Mk3i screen at all underwater. Battery life versus screen brightness, a compromise as old as time. So I really don't understand how Garmin have made the Mk3i screen so incredibly bright, and yet there seems to have been no compromise in the fantastic battery life. Out of the water, I can do almost a whole month between charges of regular use. In the water, at least a whole week of tech dives. And yet the screen is so bright and so tack sharp, dare I say it, Teric bright? Yeah, I think so. When you first unbox and set up your Mk3i, you get the option to go through and customize your activities menu. There's even a rugby option, though I'm not allowed to wear a watch whilst playing rugby, so I'm not sure what use that would ever be to anyone, but there we go. But you can personalize your list. I do not golf, so that's out of there. I do like tennis, cardio, gym, swimming, obviously. Very good. It makes your dive computer personal. I mean, did your dive computer wish you a happy birthday? Also, the Mk3i, the 51mm, takes the same strap size as the Mk2i, which is cool. I brought a bunch of different straps on my Mk2, and now I can use those on the Mk3, and I can keep the look fresh. My thoughts then. As some of you watching this probably are already aware, I'm a watch guy. I like classic, beautiful watches. So I've always resisted wearing a technology watch, a smartwatch, or a dive computer as my daily wear timepiece. But more and more I look down and I find the Mk3i on my wrist. I sleep with it on to get my sleep data, which I never do with any of my watches. I use the training programs in the gym. I use, in a very limited way, the smart notifications. I don't like constant interruptions all the time, and the amount of emails I get is basically untenable for that. But I think it's found its way onto my wrist because it is just so unobtrusive and user-friendly. It is intuitive. The menu items are exactly where you'd think they'd be, so you can operate it at a glance. It looks cool. It doesn't look as cool as a classic watch, in my opinion, but for a piece of technology, it's pretty sharp. If you want a combination of smartwatch and personal health monitoring device and a dive computer, you currently only have two choices. You've got Garmin or Apple. That's it. So the Garmin Mk3i, the 43mm, the smaller one, which is the same size, by the way, as the Apple Ultra watch, is $600 more expensive than the Apple Watch Ultra 2, I think it's called. But that difference will be made up when you realize that you have to pay Apple a subscription for the app which runs the dive functionality. The annual plan for that is about $80. So if you plan to dive with either of these devices for 7.5 more years, then these two computers actually cost the same. So both devices have smart notifications, both have GPS, both have heart rate monitoring and the associated health monitoring benefits. But as a diver, consider the following. Garmin has air integration capability, AI. The Apple does not. Garmin has CCR and mixed gas diving and a bunch more functionality for divers. The Apple does not. Garmin is depth rated as a device, meaning water resistant, to 200 meters or 650 feet. The Apple is depth rated to half of that. but only functions as a dive computer at 40 meters or 130 feet or shallower, so recreational limits only. The Garmin has a battery life of 31 days under normal use. The Apple has a battery life of 36 hours. I can't find a single metric where Apple Watch Ultra 2 beats the Garmin Descent Mk3i. The choice for me would be very, very clear. What about if you own a Garmin Mk2i? Should you consider upgrading to the Mk3? In my opinion, there aren't that many differences between the Mk2i and the Mk3i. Subtle, nice things we've talked about, the flashlight, the subtle customization options for the menu, a few more activities have been added, and the upcoming diver-to-diver messaging, which, as I mentioned, we'll cover in a separate video. But here's why you might want to upgrade. Right now, your Mk2i is still holding good value. You can still get good money for it. And I'm seeing used Mk2i's going for between $800 to $950 US, which will take the sting out of the Mk3i's eye-watering price. There is no doubt that this is the most expensive dive computer ever offered. So on that note, one more quick thing about the used Garmin Mk2i market, or any used dive computer for that matter. Be super careful out there. While I was researching this video, I saw dozens of scam posts for Garmin and Shearwater dive computers, and if the ad reads something like, "My wife, cousin, cat is sick and I need to sell my dive computer," instant bullshit. Instant. If that was really the case, why would you put that in the ad? Scumbags preying on divers, they can all get lost. As you can tell, I'm a massive fan of this computer. It is, in my mind, second only to the Shearwater Perdix 2, the greatest dive computer of all time, on my personal list of all-time best dive computers. You are, of course, entitled to disagree with me. That is what the comment section is for. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it or you learned something from it. Feel free to share it with your dive buddy, or drop it as a hint when your birthday is coming up, you know, to your significant otter. I will see you in the next video. Dive safe, dive often.